On today's episode, we have our guest, David Goa, and we're going to be talking about a famous Russian saint, St. Basil of Moscow, the famous holy fool who stood up to the evil Tsar, Ivan the Terrible. Now, St. Basil of Moscow would feast on fast days and fast on feast days, and he was a very eccentric hermit. And when Ivan the Terrible came to power and he did many atrocities, St. Basil of Moscow was so brave. He stood up to Ivan the Terrible in the middle of church. He walked into church one day holding a sausage, and he said, eat of the sausage. There's no point for you to fast because you haven't repented of your past sins. Ivan the Terrible was absolutely terrified of this holy fool, St. Basil of Moscow. And apparently he would follow Ivan the Terrible around and basically rebuking him for the evil that he's done. And strangely, even though Ivan the Terrible would actually murder his own bishops, he feared St. Basil of Moscow. So in this episode, we're going to talk more about this particular saint who stood up to quite literally one of the most powerful people alive at that time. And when can the state become idolatrous? Or when can other things in our life become idols? You don't need a altar or a pagan statue to fall into idolatry. Many day-to-day things or day-to-day activities can become idols. So how do I know if I've crossed the line? And how do I know, or how can I spot idols in my own life that I may not want to admit that I have?
Well, it'd be nice if you and I had a holy fool in our life.
Okay.
To point this out to us.
Okay.
This is a particular group of saints. We have them in a number of traditions, and there's similar kinds of figures in Japanese Buddhism, for example, and other cultures where you have the fool who turns things upside down. Within Orthodoxy, and in the case of Basil of Moscow, and your account of him fasting on feast days and feasting on fast days, that's because one of the temptations within Orthodoxy, which has this cycle of fasts and feasts, one of the temptations is to forget the point of it.
Mm-hmm.
And to think that the point of it is not having cheese, or not having meat, or not having milk. That the point of it is that physical discipline. The physical discipline is there to help you with your spiritual life, to help you with your mind, to help you with your heart, and to help you with your relationships. It's there to also teach you that you need less, not more, that you can do with less. So it has a variety of gifts. But the danger of one of the temptations for Orthodoxy is to make an idol of ritual. Now, I think the ritual life is very, very significant. So don't get me wrong here. But it's significant because of its purpose, because of what it is doing within us, because of its nurturing our journey towards transfiguration, towards wholeness. So the holy fools in the Christian East often have this kind of prophetic role. You know, prophets don't foretell the future, they tell forth the present. That is, they're social critics. They speak about a present disease. They go and read the riot act to the Pharaoh, as Moses did. They read the riot act to David, as the prophet did. They read the riot act to Nebuchadnezzar. They read the riot act to the priests, the priestly class. Because all of us are subject to idolatry. That is, all of us are subject to mistaking the form for the end. And the great religious forms of our spiritual disciplines are there to draw us nearer to God. They're not there to heighten our sense of righteousness within the community. They're not there to give us a privileged position. They're there to help us with our selfishness and to help us draw near to the lover of the world. So the holy fools were a kind of prophet because they critiqued, as he did with Ivan, the horrible behavior towards widows and orphans and towards others, towards the least of these, as Jesus Christ says in Matthew 25. They're there to call people to attention, to help them understand that they've mistaken a form. They've assumed the form was the point, but the form isn't the point. The form can help some work to be done in your mind and your heart. And that's the point, is for that work to be done, for you to become less selfish, drawing nearer to God, being present to all those you meet in life. So the Holy Fool is there are many wonderful stories of these figures going back to the Desert Father movement. We find them also in Greece and Russia. And you find them similar kinds of figures in some other religious traditions. But in all of them, it speaks of simplicity. It speaks of idolatry, that is, of mistaking a form for a reality. And when you do that, I like the word idle, because when you do that, you make your life idle. It's like you're putting your car in neutral. You're not going anywhere. You're fixated on something. You've made the pathway of life. You've stopped the pathway and the spiritual growth. You've stopped that because you have decided that doing this form rigidly, faithfully, is really the point. Well, it's not the point. It's there to serve something. It's there to serve your growth in holiness.